some technical difficulties, but we're going to get to the bottom of it right now. All right. How are we looking now? Guys, comment in there if the audio is working. And Jill has just texted me, no audio. No audio. So we're going to get to the bottom of this audio problem. All right. Okay, we're back. We're back. Text us, message us, comment with us if the audio is working, if you're hearing us loud and clear. So, again,
start over. Yeah. Excited here. I'll introduce it this time.
Do it, Ty. Tell us what's going on.
All right. So for our money topic, and I'm excited to talk about this one because credit card debt has hit an all-time high, and we've seen that in a lot of articles and whatnot. But this one that we found today actually breaks down what different generations are spending their money on, aka what has caused the credit card debt, because it's actually quite different for different generations, and it's kind of interesting as to why that is. So that's our money topic.
Ooh, that's going to be fascinating. So money topic, then we've got our mindset topic. There's always obstacles, there's adversity, there's difficulty around every corner. You know, maybe you're starting a new business and you're trying to figure out how to get through those obstacles. Maybe you've got an existing one. Maybe you've got employees you're trying to build a culture with, or maybe you're just trying to figure out how to get your finances right and be able to actually have enough money left over at the end of the month to invest and start growing your net worth and living an epic life with you and your family. Today in our mindset topic, we're going to talk about 10 ways to overcome adversity and thrive during a hard time. So this is going to be a great one that we all need to be aware of. And there's different ways to look at it. We're going to dig into that. That's our mindset topic.
Yeah, and then we'll jump right to sports. I think we're going to spend a little extra time on those first two today, so we'll dive right to sports. And we definitely need to talk about the NFL, some of the games we're excited about because the NFL kicks off on Thursday. We have the Chiefs playing the Lions. So that, honestly, if you haven't been following the NFL very closely, the Lions are a very good team. That will be a very good game. And honestly, I think I am picking the Lions because the Chiefs and their slow starts, I don't know. I think the Chiefs take a little bit longer to get into form, especially with how many young athletes they have right now and how many young guys they're expecting to play. So we'll see. But that's one of my hot picks there. I'm going Lions. So we'll dive into that a little bit more, though.
That's a good one. I've got some questions around that. Probably a lot of you guys also, anybody who was watching anything on TV online, you probably saw something about Coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, and the Colorado Buffaloes having a shocking win. For some people, it wasn't as shocking, but very, very impressive, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved watching them. I almost bought a hat, but it looked too close to the Buffalo Bills, so I canceled my order. So,
yeah, well, you got Buffalo.
We couldn't do it.
All right, guys, let's jump into our money topic. Money is this interesting topic. It's always changing. We all have a different way of filtering it, of looking at it, depending on how you were raised, how you evolved. Maybe you've gone from an employee to a business owner to an entrepreneur to an investor, wherever you're at in that progression, that journey. So let's get to the bottom of this. Credit card debt over $1 trillion in our country. So out of everybody here, we're over $1 trillion in credit card debt, which could be good, could be bad. A lot of people are very concerned, a lot of economists. So why is this, and what are people spending their money on? Let's dive into it. We're going to break this down by generation. Ty, where are we going to start?
We better start with Gen Z, Leo.
Okay. All right.
And again,
Jillian, we're talking to you and your generation.
This is 1997 to 2012. Like it or not, you're a Gen Z. So the Gen Zs, and again, Leo, before we dive into that, I don't think the whole credit card debt hitting $1 trillion is a bad thing, as long as the default rates are staying very, very low. But the default rates are starting to climb, and that's why we want to talk about this, because credit card debt on the rise is a good thing. It means people are learning how to utilize credit and get the free money and get the protection and the rewards, all of that back from the credit card companies. But if you're seeing defaults, missed payments, late payments, that's when I start to worry. So the Gen Zs, on average, increased in the second quarter of 2023 credit card debt by $3,300, $3,328 to be exact. And their spending has been influenced by factors such as COVID-19, obviously, but
Right.
the major spend categories were electronics,
Okay.
computers, which I kind
I
of
need a new iMac.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
And streaming services, which we talk a lot about. And I think streaming services become a problem when you're not disciplined and you think, oh, it's $10 here.
Oh my.
And
Yeah.
before you know it, if you're only making 50 grand a year and you have HBO Max and Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus and all these different YouTube TV, it can get really, really out of hand. So that one doesn't shock me. And electronics, you know how Gen Z is. They like to live this crazy expensive life that they can't afford quite yet. They feel like they always need to have these nice new things. So MacBooks keep coming out, new iPhones keep coming out, and those Gen Zs always need to have the newest stuff.
And we've talked a little bit about this, right? There's two types of debt, when it comes to credit card debt, specifically maybe more than any other type. And when it comes to credit card debt, there's good debt, bad debt. The good debt really can only be classified as you bought something because it's going to generate a return. There's a high likelihood it's going to actually make you more money by having access to this thing. And if you are using a credit card to invest in a business, to go through a training program, to learn how to run a digital marketing business, to join the business finance space, whatever it is, but you invested to improve yourself. That's the best investment you can make. But at the end of the day, oftentimes, if we're doing a lot of electronics, now, if it's our first computer and we need it to be productive and our old computer just wasn't getting it done, and the new computer is going to help me be way more productive and I can get a lot of stuff done and I'm going to be much faster, more effective, more efficient. Okay, we've talked, that's good. That's fine. And then you use your income, you pay it off. Hopefully you got a 0% interest introductory rate there, and you paid off during the 0% interest. But if you didn't, then what does that mean, Ty?
I mean, you're going to be throwing a lot of money down the drain, ultimately.
Just flushing it.
Yeah.
Paying a lot of interest and buying stuff that was really cool. You got that expensive flat screen. It's coming in handy for the new season, but you probably should have delayed that gratification and bought that not with cash. You should have used your credit card for the points, but then paid it down to zero. And if we're keeping an average balance of $3,300, we're not paying it off at the end of the month.
Yeah, and I almost wonder what their attitudes are like as far as a lot of their adult life. There's been bailout after bailout. They haven't really had to be held accountable. I think just as of now, student loans, you finally have to start making payments again. So I almost wonder if they've developed this attitude of, I'm never going to be held accountable. Screw it.
And that might be exactly what's happened, right? Because they thought, maybe I'll never have to pay my student loans back. And now that student loan payments are due, and those payments are adding up. I mean, the average student loans in this country, about $40,000 that the average student actually has after college. $40,000, that monthly payment's probably $800 to $1,000 a month. That's a decent payment. And if you didn't have that payment before and now you do, and then you have regular expenses or your computer actually has gone to crap and you have to get a new one, well, the only option is to put it on a card.
Love those Gen Zers. For me, Leo, because I'm just kind of like the very end of the generation before that, the Gen Zers to me they're just my little siblings, and I love to tease them and just think they're so ridiculous. But my little sister's a Gen Z, so it's always fun to poke fun at that. But let's move on.
Okay.
Gen X.
All right, what's next?
You take that one. You take the Gen X.
All right, Gen X. So I'm at the very end. This is 1965 to 1980. Don't get carried away. I was born in 1980, so I'm not younger or one of the older Gen X's, definitely the youngest. So Gen X holds the highest, the highest average credit card debt among the generations with an average balance of $9,589 as of the second quarter of 2023. So we're talking 3 times higher than Gen Z, and probably now Gen X was, I think, the last generation that really actually had quite a few kids compared to some of the generations after that, millennials, Gen Z. So far, they can still catch up. So Gen X probably has a lot of kids. They've got some kids going back to school.
They've got kids that are Gen Zs.
They've got, in fact,
that's the problem.
That's exactly right. They've got a Gen Z kid out there who, in fact, as I'm looking at this, goodness, I've got 3 Gen Z kids, right? Lucas was born in 03, Caleb was born in 05, And we got Marcus, who was born in '09. Actually, Jonas is born in 2012. Goodness. So I've got 4 Gen Zers.
They're probably pretty expensive.
And they're very, very expensive. And they have to have cell phones when they're still in grade school, for crying out loud. And so that was an expense our parents didn't have. And so very, very expensive. Not surprising that those parents are carrying $9,589. And probably most of it is probably for family expenses. Healthcare expenses, I mean, health insurance just keeps going up and it doesn't cover everything. There's costs there and you've got to take care of your family. So, and maybe you tried to go on vacation and it ended up being more, I mean, there's a lot of different things there. So, but here's the bottom line. They are at the peak of their careers. So Gen Xers are making more money than they've ever made, you know, according to their life. And they tend to have higher purchasing power, leading to spending on consumer goods, services, and investments like homes. Okay, there it is, homes.
Yeah.
Homes is another one, right? Every time you turn around, literally like this year has really been a pain. So our dishwasher died, had to replace that. A year ago, the washer and dryer just weren't working well, so we had to go talk to Tyson, get a new washer and dryer. Shout out to Thrive Appliance here in Utah, our man Tyson, who runs that business, our good friend. But so then we had to get that. There's always a car issue, registration. There's so many different things that are coming up. And then if you're a homeowner, there's so many bonus expenses. Just how much is landscaping costing?
Oh yeah, I just wrote a check for $35,000 for a backyard. So that was fun.
Yep, and you know, there's always that. Trampolines break down. You got to get new trampolines. You got to get the basketball hoop up. And then the cost of cement has skyrocketed. So all these things just keep getting more and more expensive. And if you haven't increased your income enough, yeah, it's no wonder you might have a balance of $9,500. Then maybe you're super responsible and you're going to pay it off next month and just rack up those cash back points. Hopefully you are, but probably a lot of people are not.
All right, moving on. I love this generation for some reason. I don't know why, but it's the baby boomers, Leo, the 1946 to the 1964. They're just living life right now. They're just doing their thing. Yeah, and they've got the second highest credit card debt with $8,192 on average. And they're spending more on the leisure activities, the cruises, the dining out. I guess they're benefiting from cost of living adjustments and Social Security increases. That's news to me. I didn't realize that was a thing right now, but I kind of guessed that. Here's my take on this. I'm trying to think about why, for all of these reasons that we've discussed here. I think the baby boomers, more so than any current living generation, they saw a lot of friends pass away throughout COVID. They watched a lot of people lose loved ones. They lost a lot of their friends themselves, and they've kind of developed this, you know what, life is very fragile. Let's go out there. Let's live our life. Screw it. It's just money. And I think that's why baby boomers are spending a little bit more money and doing more leisure activities than they used to.
It's a good point. I mean, you know, you pass away. Are you worried about that credit card debt?
No.
And probably not. Hey, you know, the kids will have to deal with it. They can sell a house. They'll pay it off. Maybe there's some life insurance left over, whatever it might be. But yeah, case in point, my mother and father-in-law are going on an Alaskan cruise right now with their friends, I think in the next week or two. So they're super excited about that. And exactly right. My parents just got back from France and Greece, all these other areas. I don't know if they have any credit card balances, but it's a case in point. And so if you're at that, and this age group is now age, it looks like 59 to 76. So, I mean, they're up there, right? And you start getting your 70s and you're like, you know, hey, who knows how much time is left? It could be, you know, President Biden isn't worried about that. He just gets on Air Force One. So, you know, good for him. But if you're in that age group, you just want to make sure that you're counting your last days and having the best time you can, because the future is not guaranteed. So $8,192 in average balances there as of the second quarter 2023. So this was the end of June of 2023, just a couple months ago.
Yeah. Same thing with my parents. I don't think I even told you, Leo. Dwight went and got a Harley. Just got delivered. So yeah, he's
now we're living the life.
Yeah. Catch him on Bountiful Boulevard Sunday night cruises. It's gonna be great.
Well, I hope he's...
Shout out Dwight.
That's it. That's impressive. Dwight, you're a badass, man. Good job.
All right, moving on. Millennials. Whoop, whoop.
Here we go.
Here we go.
This is your group.
Millennials only saw a 2.55% increase in debt in that quarter, with an average debt of $6,959.
Okay.
Their spending habits involved hobbies. Hobbies, clothes, electronics, and socializing with friends. So maybe we are no better than our younger generation. But I think our generation's a little bit further along in their careers, probably making a little bit more money. That's why we see a smaller increase, and probably my guess is less defaults. But again, trying to keep up with the trends, the clothes, the electronics, trends are changing so much quicker than they have ever before. So it makes perfect sense.
Boy, I don't know what it is about the clothes one, but I just never could get excited to spend a fortune for the name brand clothes. It just never did it for me. But a lot of people really do. Even my mom. I remember once my wife was asking her, my mom, what she wanted. She's like, "Oh, I'll have some Abercrombie and Fitch." I'm like, "Oh, okay, Mom."
I'm not going to lie, Leo. That's every T-shirt I own that's not 7 figures is Abercrombie and Fitch. Because I definitely noticed the difference in quality between the Target brand and the Abercrombie, and it's coming back. I'm telling you, people, Abercrombie is the best T-shirt out there. And
well, evidently, I've been missing out. Can we get some 7 figures Abercrombie?
Oh yeah, I'll get some made. Abercrombie.
Let's order
nice.
some. Let's try these.
Oh yeah.
Because I do hate crappy T-shirts.
Yeah.
Like if it's not the right material, it makes me upset.
Oh yeah.
And I don't exactly look at what's on the brand. If it's good quality,
Oh no, if there's a moose on the shirt, I'm not buying it. That's embarrassing. Absolutely not. If there's that big Abercrombie moose, that's not in my wardrobe. If it has a little cursive Abercrombie, so be it. But it's just the quality. It's night and day.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Here I am giving my mom crap forever, and you're just saying this.
You've seen me in it.
I'm missing
day after day. You just, like I said, you don't know that. And golf clothes, like these pants are called Primo. Absolutely. Oh, I'm gonna give Jill an Abercrombie shirt, and she'll be sold.
She'll change her mind.
Oh yeah, and they don't shrink. It's just so much better,
guys. I will say this: as you get older, you invest in yourself, and that means sometimes a better bed, means better things that lead to better quality of life.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which when I was younger, I couldn't have imagined.
No, it was Old Navy, H&M, cheapest stuff out there.
Right.
Who cares if it?
Rue 21.
Oh wow, forgot about that place.
Yeah. See, not quite a millennial. 1980, not 81. So.
The boomer days.
All right, guys. So that's millennials. What's next?
I think that's it. I think we covered all of the different generations there. So this article that I broke down, oddly enough, this was a massive article. I copied and pasted it into ChatGPT and said, "Hey, will you give me a breakdown of the trends amongst generations?" And that's how we got this.
Oh, I love it.
It's kind of cool. But the factors contributing to the credit card usage just across the board that this talks about and breaks down. Talks about rising cost of living due to high inflation and stagnant wages. With its, let's see, Gen X talks about higher earning potential is more inclined to make significant purchases like homes and cars. And like we talked about, homes, especially if you buy a new home, you've got the washer, dryer, all this stuff you've got to buy for it. So that makes perfect sense.
Adds up.
Younger generations like Gen Z, millennials, more mobile, willing to relocate for jobs, potentially decrease their desires to purchase homes. So that's where we saw a lot of their spending.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. The real estate market is still like prices still haven't come down that much. Interest rates are above 7%, and so home affordability is at an all-time low. It's not very affordable. It's extremely expensive, and so but prices are not coming down, rates are not coming down, and then there's not a lot of supply out there. So it keeps demand high, which keeps the prices high, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
super weird.
I don't know. I don't understand it.
So if you're a millennial or a Gen Z and you're not in the top maybe 5-10% of income, and then you've got to save 10-20%, it's super complicated. I was watching a video the other day from Breaking Points, great little news organization. They were saying that most millennials, the only way they're able to buy a house is mom and dad are kind of giving them the down payment. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too is because it's so much more expensive. A lot of these baby boomers that were at the point, okay, maybe it's time to sell the home and upgrade. Yep. They aren't doing that anymore, but you can't continue to build homes because the transportation, the infrastructure is not there. Like in Spanish Fork where I live, they apparently are just approving the final homes in an area that can be built because of the infrastructure. It doesn't support more people coming into town, but the baby boomers aren't selling their less expensive homes and upgrading like they used to. So it's creating a massive problem there for these millennials trying to buy their first homes.
Yeah, no question. I'm super curious to see what real estate does over the next 5 to 10 years. A lot of people still think it's definitely going to increase. I see a lot of potential headwinds. So, yeah, it's a good question.
All right.
So that was our money topic here. And then as we transition here, let's go into mindset. So 10 ways to overcome adversity and thrive during hard times. And adversity can be defined a few different ways for a lot of people. Maybe it's losing a job. Maybe it's having a financial setback. Maybe you invested all your money in crypto and that hasn't quite come back for you. Could be a number of things. Maybe you're going through a physical injury or an illness. Maybe you've had a relationship go sour, divorce. There's poverty, there's losing a loved one, and then I'd say there's struggling within your career. And I'd also put, overcoming some of life's real big challenges like substance abuse and addiction. I was reading this book like I was telling you about. Jimmy Johnson, the former Cowboys coach, his son had a real problem with alcohol. And so wherever you're at, there's adversity that you're going through right now. And this article basically lists 10 ways to get through with that or to overcome it. What would you say, before getting these 10 methods to overcome adversity is important when you're going through adversity? You should do maybe before you even think, well, how should I overcome it? It's almost like first you need to come to terms with like reality is kind of what I'm thinking.
That's what I would say is understanding your adversity, kind of defining what you actually are going through and accepting it as a real thing. I think so many people are actually just in denial.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, you're in denial that you're in financial straits. Things are not good. Your income's gone down. Your expenses have gone up. The kids are more expensive. And you're literally using credit cards to stay alive. And you're literally going down a path towards bankruptcy. If you don't increase your income, cut some expenses, there are people in that camp. There are people who have a real problem and maybe a substance abuse problem. Maybe their alcohol is a real issue and it's affecting every area of their life, ruining relationships, jeopardizing their job at work, and they need to be able to be honest about that problem. So I think it's a good point. Number one, you have to actually before we get to these 10 solutions of dealing with adversity, you have to, number one, come to terms with reality. You're going through something difficult and you need to be honest about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that a lot. Not to judge people, but sometimes it's just so obvious. Like in a marriage, your marriage could really, really be struggling, but maybe you don't want to take the time or effort or energy to fix it. So you ignore the fact that you are going through adversity. And sometimes with business owners, same thing. The business is failing, but they put on this smiley face and act like nothing's wrong. And that's probably the worst thing you can do.
No question about it. You got to deal with the dirty stuff that's out there and fix it. So number one, you got to realize it's out there, be honest, live in reality. And then to start, going right along with that, number one, it says stop making excuses, right? You are where you're at because of one person, the decisions you made led you to adversity. And so when I think back to, when I was literally going bankrupt, businesses are failing. Yes, it's the 08-09 recession. Yes, it's one of the worst times that real estate had in the history of this country. And at the same time, it was my bad decisions that led me there. And until I could actually be honest with my own issues and shortcomings, I couldn't get that right.
Yeah, absolutely. And until you address the fact that I'm accountable for my own actions, you're not going to make a change, period.
100%. So number one, stop making excuses. Number two, it says to write your thoughts down, maybe talk with somebody, actually just, hey, here's what I'm going through. Here's what I'm feeling. And sometimes it's important to find someone to talk to about that. I remember watching an episode of Patrick Bet-David, and he was in a tough situation, I think, 2010. He and his wife had just had a miscarriage. He had put his life savings into his business, and they were down to like 13 grand in the bank account from $500,000. He had to settle a lawsuit with his previous employer who sued him for starting his own business. And he couldn't go talk to his wife because she just had a miscarriage and she's in a tough spot. And so he literally just found this psychiatrist somewhere and booked an appointment, and he talked for an hour. He felt better. Psychiatrist didn't say much to him, but it's important to be able to release, at least get it all out there, and then, okay, how can we move forward from there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think therapy can be a really, really good thing for a lot of people. Going to therapy does not mean that you are struggling. You could be a very, very successful human, and going to therapy can just help you get over one small little aspect or struggle that you're going through. The third thing on this list is to change your state of mind. And that's something we talk a lot about, because that is one thing that, unless you have like a severe mental illness, of course, there's situations, there's outliers, but the vast majority of us, changing your state of mind is a choice you get to make. It's that attitude decision that we talked about on the last podcast. So that's the next step to overcoming adversity is changing your state of mind, no matter what, having that positive attitude.
Amen. And next, stay disciplined. Like, put together a plan to get back on top of it. If you are struggling in your business and you know you need to start with, well, our sales have dropped, our product's not as good. Well, great, let's write it down. How are we going to improve the product or service? How are we going to provide a better experience? How are we going to generate more leads and more deals? At the end of the day, the one thing I remember before we started this company, I mean, I was in a tight spot because the previous company, I had to bring 100 grand in debt over with me, but I'd been here before. And so I'm like, I'm going to focus on sales. That's what we're going to do. And that's what we did. And when you focus on sales, all of a sudden within, I mean, it was literally, I think our fourth month, we were already over $100,000 in sales, because that's what we focused on, the sales. And so make that game plan and focus on it.
Absolutely. The next step here is to have a sense of humor. And this is something that, honestly, just doing little things like making the decision to smile can go a really, really long way. Like I first learned that in a sales job when I was a lot younger. It was just, smile more frequently on your phone call, and your tones, your attitude, everything's going to be lifted. Same thing with sense of humor. Force a laugh. Like, even if something's not that funny to you, just make yourself laugh and smile more often, and all of a sudden you'll find that you're a little bit more giddy, you're smiling more, you're laughing more. It's another one of those things, you just have to make the decision to do it. It's a choice, and then the results will follow.
Then the next thing they talk about is have faith. Have faith that you're going to come out of this, you're going to win. And it's interesting, I've been watching this documentary that my daughter recommended, and it's called From 0 to 100, and it basically researches, and they meet all these people who in these 5 areas of the world all live well beyond 100. And one of the common denominators or factors of why they all lived longer was they all had like this community of faith. They all had some sort of religious ideology. They went to church, or they got together with people, and they had a belief in a higher power. And because of that, somehow that helped them all be more successful, live through adversity, and have healthy, happy lives well into, some of these people were 115 years old, if you can believe it. And so interesting how important that is. And as you look at entrepreneurs, the same thing happened when Elon Musk was literally about to lose everything, but he had faith that he was going to get that last loan, which he got in 2009, and then the rest is history. Now he's the wealthiest person in the world. John D. Rockefeller had faith that he was going to create the biggest oil company in the world, which he did, which was Standard Oil. And it happened because he had this great faith, and he didn't get on this train that actually eventually derailed. Everybody died on it, and he just had this faith, and from that moment on, he just knew that there was a higher power that was going to help him. So even if that is or isn't true, whatever you believe, when you have that faith, magic happens.
Yeah, even if it's just that faith in yourself, that's
100%.
Very important.
Same thing.
The next reason here is to acknowledge your wins. Right? Even the small ones, when you're really down in the dumps and you're struggling, getting even the slightest win of going to the gym, of saying no to the drink of alcohol that you're trying to quit, those small wins become contagious, and you start to understand what it feels like to win, and you want that more and more. So acknowledging your small wins is very, very important.
All right. Then we've got don't take no for an answer. Don't take no for an answer, right? You're out there, you're trying to find a solution. You keep pushing until you find that solution.
Yep. Surround yourself with positive people. That's the next one here. And again, attitude, positivity, negativity, it's all contagious, right? If you are frequently surrounded by people, you will all start to have similar attitudes. You will all start to have similar beliefs because it is contagious. So it's so important that if you're down in the dumps, you're going through adversity, you need to be around people that will uplift you and bring you up.
Amen. I was just wrote this big quote out to my son, who's 14, and I'm like, all right, if you hang around 5 people that are constantly whining and complaining, you'll be number 6. If you hang around 5 people who are working hard, have big dreams, and want to accomplish a lot in life, you'll be number 6. If you hang around 5 people who are constantly, drunk, doing drugs, getting into trouble, guess what? You'll be number 6. And it is so true. You are the sum of the people that you hang out with the most.
Absolutely. And then the last one is spend time in nature.
I like this.
Yeah, I think it's just, whether it's nature or somewhere just private and quiet and solemn, like somewhere where you can actually just go out and compose your thoughts. That's kind of my take on it. Unless I'm missing something, I don't necessarily love to go out into the boonies and whatnot. But there's our alarm.
There's our timer, guys. It's time to talk about football.
Yeah. But Leo, you tell me, is that kind of the concept of the spend time in nature one? Or?
I think so, yeah. If you can get out there, one of the things that I like doing is getting out and going on a hike, or even just at work. Sometimes just leave your office and walk outside, for 10, 15 minutes. It does so much good to get outside, get some vitamin D, some sun on you, and get some motion out there. That was something else in this documentary on Netflix, by the way, which I highly recommend. All these people were very active. A lot of them didn't drive around in cars. They would walk to the store. They all had gardens they were tending to. They were always out in nature, just walking around, playing, having fun, doing things. They weren't just sitting at home watching TV, which is what a lot of retired people in the U.S. do. And that doesn't lead to happiness and success. And a lot of them die early, which makes no sense. And these people in Costa Rica, much poorer country, are living much happier, more healthy lives. They have a longer life expectancy than we do in the U.S. And I think nature plays a big role.
Awesome. Well, that's 10 things. Again, those 10 things to help you overcome adversity. I think it's a really good things. Even if you're not going through adversity, those are some really, really good things just to live a happier, more fulfilling life that you really need to consider. Obviously, we've reached our time, but we'll briefly touch on, Thursday, let's make our picks. I'm going to talk about my bets. I actually hit on a couple big ones with college football. I put $50. It was plus 750 or plus 730, something like that, on Colorado beating TCU. Saw that one coming a mile away with all the talent going into Colorado and how much talent was leaving TCU to the NFL. But we'll go over some of these NFL picks, some of these trends, especially with week 1. Again, I said this at the start of the show. I can explain why a little bit more on the next episode, but I am definitely picking the Lions week 1. That's this Thursday, just a couple days from now. The Chiefs, last I checked, still don't have a deal for their main.
Chris Jones, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a big miss. I mean, he was a massive factor in them winning the Super Bowl last year, massive factor in getting past Cincinnati. So you're kind of excited about Detroit. Anyone else you're excited about? We'll get into the matchups and make those picks on Thursday. But just off the top of your head, some teams you're kind of excited to see. Obviously, I think we're all a little bit excited to see what's going to happen when the Jets and Aaron Rodgers play Buffalo on Monday night. I'm excited to see what happens there.
Yeah, I still think I'm going with the Bills. In fact, I've already put some money on the Bills. I definitely think the Bills are the better team. I'm excited to see, because they still won't have Von Miller. I don't think their front seven. I don't think they're going to be able to put a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers, but their offense is just the Bills' offense is too strong. I'm excited to see the Jets face their first good defensive front and see how composed Aaron Rodgers can stay, because I think he's going to absolutely lose it and struggle with that offensive line. Again, I'll dive more into the Jets next time, because that's the Monday night game. So we have to wait a little bit longer for that one. As much as I hate to admit this, because we play them week 1, I think if I had to pick one sleeper team per se. I mean, when we're talking about teams to win the Super Bowl this year, most people go, Eagles, Chiefs, Bengals, 49ers, out, and the Jets. A lot of people are saying the Jets, which is asinine. But outside of those ones, I'd probably have to go the Chargers. I think the Chargers are one of the most complete football teams out there, a very complete football team, and a phenomenal quarterback. So the Chargers, the Dolphins play them week 1. I think those are two teams that could definitely be sleepers, but I think if I had to pick one, probably the Chargers.
Good stuff. Well, we'll jump into that on Thursday. Have a fantastic week. Take action. You had Labor Day yesterday, so make sure you're making every minute count. And really, one thing I find that helps me is write out your list of what's most important. If I got 3 things done today that would really move my business forward, what are they? Write those down and knock those out. Make your next couple days awesome, and we'll see you on Thursday with NFL picks and an amazing topic to help you keep growing your business.